Oh, is it on mute?
No.
You were muted.
Nothing.
Can you
Good
hear
morning.
me?
Yeah. Lacey, if you're the one that just spoke, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
Now talk. Hello?
And we can hear you as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's everybody.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Austin, I need to move this and go back to my, what is this?
Oh, that's just the main Zoom
I can
window. So you
exit.
can, I would minimize.
Minimize, okay. And drag this over, so go to the top. Now go to my Odyssey.
And click on text over there on the right. Oh, actually, click out of that window. Little small text over here. It looks a little different whenever we shrink the thing down. So you can click on view there. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's right. Sorry, a little technical difficulties this morning. Got it. All right, Chambers County Probate Court coming to order. Cause number 20 CPR 0033. The state of Sidney Walter Harmon. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Raise your right hand, please.
Your Honor, I have two witnesses with me,
Okay, got him.
Amy Flores, Tammy Levinas, and of course, the applicant and surviving spouse, Mary Harmon.
Okay, raise your right hand, both of you.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, self you got?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, you can put your hands down and you may proceed, ma'am.
Ms. Harmon, could you please state before the court your full name?
Mary Alice Harmon.
And Ms. Harmon, are you the surviving spouse of Sidney Walter Harmon Jr.?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you filed two applications before the court today, an application to determine heirship and an application for independent administration and letters of administration?
Yes, ma'am.
In the estate of your husband, at the time of his death, was he married?
Yes.
And did he die on December 8th, 2018 at the age of 41 years old? And unfortunately, it was due to a drowning in Trinity River, Chambers County, Texas.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time of his death, you were his spouse.
Yes, ma'am.
And were there any children born of the marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you state the full names of all children born of the marriage?
Dalton William Harmon and Max Bo Harmon.
Were there any other children born of the marriage than these two children?
No, ma'am.
Were there any children adopted or held out as children other than these two children?
No, ma'am.
Were there any deceased children?
No, ma'am.
Were there any children born to or adopted by your husband prior to your marriage?
No, ma'am.
At the time of your husband's death, was he a resident of Chambers County?
Yes, ma'am.
And was he a resident of Chambers County 6 months or more?
Yes, ma'am.
And he owned real property, is that correct? And he's also inherited property from his father's estate, is that also correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And personal properties.
Yes, ma'am.
At the time of your husband's death, did he have a will?
No, ma'am.
Did you inquire or ever have a discussion that maybe he had a handwritten will or any type of will anywhere?
No.
So to your knowledge, there is no will and your husband died without a will.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we have before the court, there was a former marriage and her name was Happy.
Yes, ma'am.
Happy Blaylock. And we have for the court, the date of marriage, was it September 26, 1999?
Yes, ma'am.
And the date of termination was December of 2010.
Yes, ma'am.
And the place of termination was actually in Chambers County. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'd like to note, Your Honor, I called the district clerk and she went over the facts of this divorce and that the record showed in district court that there were no children born to nor adopted of that marriage. To
Thank you.
your knowledge, your husband had no children born to or adopted of that marriage. Is that correct? At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to pass the witness.
Counselor.
Miss Lane did a fine job. I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Call your next witness, Ms. Lane.
My next witness is Amy Flores. And
Morning, Amy.
Good morning.
Could you state your full name for the court?
Amy Dawn Flores.
And y'all been best friends with the Mary Harmon since second grade, is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
So you're very familiar not only with the applicant, but with her marriages.
Yes,
I mean,
ma'am.
her marriage, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at the time, did you know decedent from 2009 until his death?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you aware that he died on December 8th, 2018 in Chambers County?
Yes, ma'am.
I've named before the court the two children. Are there any other children to your knowledge, since y'all been best friends since second grade, remained close, other than the two children we have presented to the court?
No, ma'am.
And of these children, were there any others adopted,
No, ma'am.
deceased,
No, ma'am.
or from the prior marriage,
No, ma'am.
or any other relationship of the husband of the decedent other than the two we named here?
No, ma'am.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to pass the witness.
Awesome.
Ms. Flores, just a couple of questions. Do you have a financial interest in the estate?
No, ma'am.
And are you being paid for your testimony today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Call your next witness, ma'am.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to call Tammy Levinus.
Morning.
Miss Levinus, could you state your full name for the court, please?
Tammy Levinus.
And were you familiar with the family and marital history of Sidney Walter Harmon Jr.?
Yes, ma'am.
And could you state how you knew the family or the decedent from 2009 until his death?
Mary is my husband's cousin.
Oh, okay, so you are related through marriage.
Yes, ma'am.
And did the decedent, to your knowledge, die in Chambers County, Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, of the children in the testimony that we have before the court, are there any other children born to, adopted, or deceased other than the two children named in this affidavit of concerning the identity of the heirs?
No, ma'am.
Now, have you had an opportunity to read the affidavit?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you find it to be true and correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I have no further questions for this witness, and I pass this witness, Your Honor.
Counsel.
Thank you. Tammy, do you have a financial interest in the estate at all?
No, ma'am.
And are you being paid for your testimony today?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anything else, Counselor?
Your Honor, we have a proof of death and other facts and oath that have been notarized as required by the court.
Okay.
But for an independent, I did want to note, Your Honor, there are minors, and we are dealing with real property that is separate real property, which my surviving spouse does have a life estate, but the order for independent does have it the last line that Mary Harmon may not sell the separate real property for minor distributees who are to receive any interest without application and order of this court. Otherwise, you know, Your Honor, she holds a life estate property.
Okay. Have you seen that order, Ms. Rendo? I know it's not part of the judgment, but Lacey,
I'm sorry.
have you
I
seen
can't
that
hear
order?
you. Oh, yes,
said
Your
have you
Honor.
Okay. Are
The
you
air
okay with it?
order I have.
All right. Have y'all agreed to?
Yes, my order's been filed as well, Your Honor.
Okay. And I'm sure I got it here. I'm still learning how to use all this.
Yes, Your
We're all
Honor.
still learning.
I'm gonna approve the judgment declaring heirship. Do you have any other testimony on independent administration?
No, Your Honor, and we do have an inventory prepared with order to be also e-filed with the court.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna approve the order of independent administration and letters of administration.
Yes, Your Honor, I did want to note that the children, the only heirs are the children of the surviving spouse. So in the order, we also waive bond in granting her an independent administration.
Okay. Is that acceptable, Lacey?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Okay, I thought so. All right. That works. You get that order, I'll get it signed today, or it's in the queue, I'm sure. So,
Yes, sir.
all right,
Nice,
thank you.
nice meeting you, sir, and
Good to meet you,
Lacey.
ma'am.
Very nice to meet you.
Take
Y'all
care.
have a good day.
Bye-bye.
All
Good.
right, bye-bye.
All right, what happened to my queue? No, no. So where is it? There it is. That's all right. I'm just gonna go.
All right.
All right, so 20 CPR 0095 and 96, the state of Ramona B. Deering and Thomas H. Deering. Who's going to testify on this one?
Good morning, Your Honor.
morning.
It's the applicant, Dr. Robert Nix. My
Good
name is
morning,
Laura
doctor.
here on behalf
Good
of Mr.
morning.
Raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
I do.
You can put your hand down. Ms. Smith, you may proceed. You want to do both cases at the same time? I'm good with that.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to begin with Ramona Deering's estate, if that's okay.
Okay. Yes.
Dr. Nix, what was your relationship to Ramona Deering?
I was her brother-in-law.
Did Mrs. Deering die on August 14th, 2020 in Houston, Harris County, Texas, at the age of 64 years?
Yes.
And have 4 years elapsed since the date of Mrs. Deering's death?
No.
Was Mrs. Deering a resident of Chambers County at the time of her death?
Yes, she was.
And has citation been served and returned in the manner required by the Texas Estates Code?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, is the document that you filed for probate, which is dated January 4th, 2008, Mrs. Deering's last will and testament?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, Dr. Nix, was that document ever revoked by Mrs. Deering?
No.
And to the best of your knowledge, was Mrs. Deering's will executed with the formalities and solemnities required by the Texas Estates Code to make it a valid will?
Yes.
And on the last page, or excuse me, second to the last page of the will that you filed for probate, did you recognize that to be Mrs. Deering's signature?
Yes, I do.
And was this will witnessed by Barbara Martin and Annette Trevino?
Yes.
And the two witnesses and Mrs. Deering executed a self-proving affidavit, is that correct?
That is correct.
And is it true that the will names Mrs. Deering's husband, Thomas Deering, to serve as independent executor of her estate?
Yes, it did.
But Mr. Deering passed away on August 25th, 2020, is that correct?
Yes, just 11 days after Ramona.
And you're named in Mrs. Deering's will as a successor independent executor?
Yes, it is.
Was any child born to Mrs. Deering or adopted by her after the date of your will, of her
No.
will, excuse me?
No.
And were any marriages of Mrs. Deering dissolved after the date of her will?
No.
Are you in any way disqualified to serve as independent executor of Mrs. Deering's estate?
No.
And is there any state governmental agency of the state or charitable organization that is named in the will as a devisee?
No.
And is there a necessity for the administration of the estate?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, this is a non-taxable estate and we ask that appraisers be waived.
Go down. Okay, any other testimony?
No, Your Honor.
All right, hereby admit the will of probate and authorized letters. And if you'd like to go on to number 96, the state of Thomas H. Deering.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Nix, what was your relationship to Thomas Deering?
He was my brother-in-law.
And did Thomas Deering die on August 25th, 2020 in Houston, Harris County, Texas at the age of 69?
Yes, he did.
Have 4 years elapsed since the date of Mr. Deering's death?
No.
Was Mr. Deering a resident of Chambers County, Texas at the time of his death?
Yes, he was.
And has citation been served and returned in the manner required by the estate's code for Mr. Deering's estate?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, is the document that you filed for probate, which is also dated January 4th, 2008, Mr. Deering's last will and testament?
Yes, it was.
And to the best of your knowledge, did Mr. Deering ever revoke his will?
No.
And to the best of your knowledge, was Mr. Deering's will executed with the formalities and solemnities required by the estate's code to make the will valid?
Yes.
And on the last, or the second to last page of the will, do you recognize that to be Mr. Deering's signature?
Yes, I do.
And this will was also witnessed by Barbara Martin and Annette Trevino?
Yes.
And the two witnesses and Mr. Deering executed a self-proving affidavit, correct?
That's correct.
And is it true that the will names Mr. Deering's wife, Ramona Deering, to serve as the independent executrix of his estate?
Yes.
Is it true that Mrs. Deering predeceased Mr. Deering because she passed away on August 14th, 2020?
That's correct. 11 days before Tommy.
And Mr. Deering's will names you to serve as the alternate independent executor of Mr. Deering's estate, correct?
Yes, it did.
Was any child born to Mr. Deering or adopted by him after the date of the will?
No.
And were any marriages dissolved of Mr. Deering after the date of the will?
No.
Is any state, governmental agency of the state, or charitable organization named as a devisee under the will?
No.
And is there a necessity for the administration of the estate?
Yes.
Are you in any way disqualified to serve as independent executor of Mr. Deering's estate?
No.
Your Honor, that's all I have. This is also a non-taxable estate, and we ask that appraisers be waived.
Gonna hereby admit the will of probate and authorized letters.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good to meet you both.
You too, sir.
Thank
And you'll
you.
have a good day. Maybe
Take care. Have a good day. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Court's adjourned.
Thank you.